imagine you're walking through some strange forest type place. You're not totally sure how you got there, but you know that you've been wandering for a while. You feel like at some point you began on some city streets, maybe noticed something glimmering in an alley between buildings, and you decided to explore it, to see what you might find. And you walked a little ways into the dark alley, and it got hard to see for a little bit. As you walked past trash cans and weird posts and other random things that you find in alleys, boxes, possibly raccoons, hopefully raccoons. You can only hope you walked past a lot of raccoons. But somehow at some point, you found yourself in a forest. And this forest, it's a little bit dark. It's a little bit dreary at first. Obviously, it makes sense going from some dark, mysterious alleyway to a little bit of a dark forest. But as you walk, you feel like it's getting lighter. You feel like you're getting close to whatever glimmer originally led you down this path. You have no idea how long you've been walking. It could be minutes, it could be days. But you feel like you have to keep going to find this glimmer. You don't know if you dare turn around. You don't know if you dare look back. Just try and see if the alley is even still there. You have no clue. It might be, but it might not. It could be gone. The alleyway could have been a dream. This forest could be reality. It could be all that you've ever seen. Maybe the alleyway, maybe your life before was just something you imagined up to escape this forest because you've been walking for so long. It seems like there's nothing else. This forest is everything now. You keep going, you keep walking, you hear the crunch, crunch of leaves and twigs beneath your feet. You wonder what other creatures might lurk in these woods. You can't remember if you've ever run into one, either before your alleyway dream or after. You're not certain. The only life seems to be the life of the plants, of the trees, of the little sprouts growing beneath your feet. You feel bad for trampling them. They were just trying to grow. They were just trying to live. But they're not your main priority. You need to find this glimmer. You need to keep following it. So you keep going. You don't worry too much. You just walk and you just try to find the glimmer. You follow it. You feel like you've been going in a straight path, but for all you know, you've been going in circles. Maybe the glimmer is just a figment of your imagination. But it couldn't be, surely. You've been hunting so long. You've been desperately trying to follow this glimmer. There's no way it could be fake, could it? But you keep going. You keep going. You can't give up. Why would you give up now? You've been going for so long. It's surely not going to be impossible, right? You'll get to the glimmer. Maybe, you hope. There's a little figment of doubt in you. There's this little part of you that worries that all this wandering, all this just walking and walking might be for nothing, that there might be no real glimmer. But you keep going, just in case. Because if not for the glimmer, what are you going for? There mustn't be anything else, right? It's just this glimmer. That's all you have to work towards. It's lonely, it's empty in this forest. It's so thick and full of life, but at the same time it is empty. You feel alone. You could try talking to the trees. They've never answered. You're pretty sure you've tried talking to them before. You know that you've pretty sure it's been a long time that you've been walking. So chances are you've tried a lot of things. But really, you can't say you've gotten too distracted. You didn't try to talk to the trees for long. You didn't think too much about the sprouts beneath your feet. Mostly, you just keep walking. Occasionally, you do think back to the dream of the alleyway, and you wonder if maybe that was real. But you're not really sure. You're not too worried about it. It just comes into your mind every now and then. But that's not important, you think to yourself. That glimmer is what you're going for. So you keep walking, you keep trying to follow this glimmer. Through the forest, past tree after tree. The trees, they all look relatively similar. You can't say you've taken too long to look at them, other than, when you occasionally stopped and maybe tried to talk to one. You feel silly thinking about it now, not because you tried to talk to the trees, but rather because you let them distract you from following the glimmer. You wasted precious time. It's taken you so long to follow this glimmer. Why did you take a break to try and talk to trees? You feel so silly. But what's the point of thinking back to that now? What's the point of looking back and trying to decide whether or not that alleyway was a dream? All that really matters is following the glimmer, right? So you keep going. You keep pushing forward. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The crunches don't matter, but sometimes you like to think about them. Sometimes you like to think how every crunch means you're closer to the glimmer. Probably. You realize that maybe, what if the glimmer might be moving? What if you've been chasing it and it hasn't just been staying still? What if the reason it's taking so long is because it's moving just as fast as you are? But you think to yourself, it feels like the glimmer is getting closer. It feels a little brighter than it was before, so maybe you are getting closer. So you keep going, and 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 you just keep following the glimmer. It feels like eternities have passed. It feels like an immeasurable amount of time. Nothing else matters. All you've ever known is following the glimmer, right? Well, maybe. Maybe you knew other things before, but that doesn't matter, you think. So you keep going and following the glimmer and hoping that one day you'll get to it, because surely you will. But then again, what even is a day? The trees overhead are so thick, you can barely see any light. The glimmer is really the only light for you. You don't see much else. And if that's the case, that the glimmer is moving away from you, why would you ever stop following it when it's your source of light? It's your source of hope. It's what keeps you going. So you have to follow the glimmer. If you stop and it gets farther away from you, everything will be dark, right? What do you do then? You don't want to think about it. That's not important. It doesn't matter. You wouldn't stop following the glimmer anyways, because there's nothing else that matters, just the glimmer. So you keep going. You keep following the glimmer. You keep just step after step after step, desperately trying to get to this glimmer. It feels like another eternity or 2 or 3 or 4 have passed. Time is irrelevant. All that matters is getting to the glimmer, right? Those little pinches, those little sprinkles of doubt, they sometimes creep into your mind, but you know that they're not important, right? The glimmer is what is important. You can't let doubt distract you from that. You thought at least, but it's been so long, and admittedly, you're getting tired. You've never taken a break. There is no such thing as breaks. The glimmer might get too far away if you take a break. What if it disappears while your eyes are closed? You can't stop. You have to keep following the glimmer. You don't want to know what will happen if you don't keep following it. But maybe it might be worth it to try something different. Maybe when you open your eyes, you will still see the glimmer and you can keep following it. It'll be okay. But what would happen if it wasn't? What would you do? Is it even worth considering? You don't want to consider it. But at the same time, there's this little part of you that's begging you to imagine, to think of something different. You think back to the alleyway. Was that real? Why do you even think of the alleyway? Why do you remember it? Why is it important when you're following the glimmer? Why were you ever worried about the alleyway? Well, maybe the alleyway meant something. Maybe there's a reason that you thought about it. And you just never let yourself fully grasp the importance of thinking about the alleyway. Maybe just the knowledge, that memory of the alleyway, whether it was real or not, maybe it was supposed to lead you to something, to some thought that might set you free. Because in a way you think to yourself, maybe I'm trapped by this glimmer. Maybe it's holding me prisoner. Maybe it's playing some sick game. Maybe I don't have to walk for eternity. These thoughts are flooding your head. You've been walking the whole time that they've been bombarding you. You don't know what to do. Should you keep thinking, or should you just focus back in on the glimmer? You look at it closely. It almost feels like it's farther away than it was just minutes ago. But then again, what is a minute? What is time when there's just the glimmer to be chased? But it feels like it's farther away than it normally is. Maybe. Or maybe you just got distracted. You're not sure. You don't know what to do next. Some turmoil builds up inside of you and you stop. You're overwhelmed by these thoughts. You start to panic. Why did I stop? The glimmer is going to get farther away if I don't keep going, you think to yourself, but for some reason, your feet don't keep moving forward. Because deep down there is this part of you that wants to try something different, that wants to see what happens if you stop chasing the glimmer. There's this little rebellion in your heart and your soul that's begging you, let the glimmer go for a second. Maybe it's not worth it. And you sit and you just wait. It might be seconds, it might be a minute. You have no clue. You start counting it out. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Suddenly, you feel this weight off your shoulders. Time. Time is back, you think to yourself. For the first time in an unknown, an undescribable amount of time, an amount of energy, an amount of following that glimmer. And you're finally letting something else into your life. Time, again. It feels nice. It feels nice to have that structure, something besides just this glimmer that you can't seem to reach. Time. You can't control it, but you can depend on it. And something about that feels safe. Something about that feels good. Something about having stopped, standing on the ground. It feels so refreshing. You feel so alive, more alive than you felt in who knows how long. You look at the ground. You look at the sprouts. You reach down and you pluck one up. For a second, you almost feel bad. But what does picking one sprout really matter when you've crushed so many following the glimmer? You look at it. You think about it. This little sprout. All of these little sprouts. You ignored them before. You were so caught up on the glimmer. You only occasionally thought about the fact that you were crushing them. But that thought never mattered in the past. You turn around. For the first time in as long as you can remember, you look behind you. And you're shocked. Because behind you there isn't a forest. There aren't all the crushed sprouts. You've turned around and you found yourself in an alleyway. You look back to where you'd been looking before. There is no glimmer. There is no forest. There are no trees. You're just in the alley again. You turn back and you walk a little ways. The light peeks in from between the two buildings. You walk out into the sunlight. There are people walking past. There are people walking dogs, people getting into cars. There's life. There's living beings. There's more than just trees. There's not just a glimmer. And you look down in your hand and the sprout, it's still there. This little green sprout. You turn around to look at the alley one last time. It's just an alley. But it feels like so much more. You walk down the sidewalk. You're not sure where you're going. You're not really sure where you came from. But you're excited. Because there's so much to see. There's so much to do. And you're so free to go wherever, to explore whatever. You take that little sprout with you. You see the world. You see it differently. Very differently than you would have seen it before. Because now you're free. You're free to explore whatever, to do whatever, to be whoever. You're not trapped chasing a glimmer that you don't even know if it was real. And now that forest that once made the alleyway feel like a dream, it almost feels like a dream too. But you know it was real. Because that sprout in your hand, it's still there. You hold on to the sprout, not because of the glimmer, not because of how long you chased it, but rather so that you can remember the freedom that you felt when you picked up that sprout and turned around. Don't forget that you're free. Don't forget that you don't have to waste your time chasing something that you don't know if you'll ever reach. Something that you don't even know if you want because you don't know what it is. Be free. Be free to live your life, to explore, to learn something new, to experience something new. And maybe there's a chance that if you had kept chasing that glimmer, you would have found it. But it's okay that you never did. Because maybe with this sprout in hand, you're going to find better things. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you thought of this video, and I will see you guys next time.